Hi, it's me again, it's Bob again, and I've come with another installation of the Encourager. So I hope you're with me, I hope you're ready, and we're saying let's do what the shepherd said, let's go over to Bethlehem. They said let's go over and see whether all these things are true, what the angel told us. But it's good to check up whether things are true, not just believe what you've heard. Well, I'd like to go back to the Old Testament, go back to the book of Joshua. Now, Israel spent time in Egypt. We saw yesterday, or I mentioned yesterday, that Jacob had gone down to Egypt with all his brothers, and they stayed there for quite a long time, a few hundred years, and then they became slaves because the king of Egypt, he was a bit worried that they were the people of Israel then, the family of Israel, the family of Jacob, they started to grow. They had children and children's children, and they're starting to grow. And the king, the Pharaoh of Egypt, he was a little bit insecure, and he thought these people might rise up and they might become a danger to us. So let's make them to slaves. And so he made them to slaves, and they had a very, very bitter life. It was very difficult. But then Moses came, and Moses took them out of Egypt, and they spent 40 years in the wilderness until God says it's time now to go into the area which he called the promised land. God had promised in this land, and there were other people living there. There were the Canaanites, but God was going to use Israel to bring his judgment upon the Canaanites. We talked about the times and the seasons being in God's hand, and this time for the Canaanite people, it was running out. He'd given them a chance. I don't know very much about the history about what was going on, whether God sent prophets to them, but I suppose he did. He gave them a chance, but they didn't react to what God wanted to do with them, and they were serving other gods. But that didn't just mean they were having philosophical thoughts about who these gods could be, but they were actually dedicated to them, and that was affecting the way they were living. That was affecting the moral life. That was affecting the fact that they were bringing sacrifice to these gods, which included their own children. They were sacrificing their children in the fire to the various gods. And somehow God says enough is enough. And he used Israel, which is a terrible thing. He used Israel to bring judgment upon these nations, and they were killed. They were displaced. That's terrible. But later, when Israel settled in that land, they weren't any better than these people. So God judged them again. And he used the Babylonians, a very fierce, cruel people who came from Iraq. And they brought judgment on Israel, destroying the city of Jerusalem, taking all the people in exile. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But Babylon wasn't much better either. So the Persians came and they destroyed Babylon. And God used the Persians to bring judgment upon Babylon, but they weren't any better either. So God used the Greeks, and so on and so forth, until we come to the cross and the wrath of God, the anger of God, because of what man is doing to man, because of his cruelty, because of his evil desires. All the consequences of our bad behavior, that was put on Jesus, and Jesus died in our place. That is a great story. This is why what the shepherd said, let's go to Bethlehem, let's see whether these things are true. Which things? That the angels have said that Christ, the Messiah, the anointed one, who's coming for you, but for the whole world. He's been born today in Bethlehem. Jesus has come. That's what we're celebrating at Christmas. Yeah, he might not have been born on the 25th or the 24th of December, but we take him one special day, and although we live from the benefits every single day that Jesus has come, it's this one day that we especially celebrate it. So, let's go to Bethlehem. And this is more the attitude of Bethlehem. Let's go to Bethlehem and let's celebrate that. Hey, that's all for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.